The evidence is going to show that as they're having this conversation in the bathroom, Mr. Wade is facing towards where Mrs. Powell is, which is kind of in an area behind the bathroom door, across from the bathroom mirror. And they're having this conversation. And at that point, Mr. Wade is shot twice. Shot twice by Mr. Jackson, who comes out of the shower curtain. Unbeknownst to Mr. Wade, doesn't even know he's there, and shoots him twice. All right? And in response to that, Mr. Wade fires rounds to defend himself.
In a way, this case is about self-defense, but it's about Maurice Vaughn Jackson defending himself and Shayna.
September 7th, 2021, Columbus, Georgia, 2:30 a.m. 16 shots fired in a small apartment, one young rapper dead, one man walking free, and a woman at the center of it all who knew both triggers that got pulled that night. But here's what really got folks talking. This wasn't just about a love triangle gone wrong. This was about something deeper, something that cuts to the bone in our community, the unwritten rules, the codes we live by, and what happens when somebody crosses that line. This is Deadly Affairs, where we break down the real stories behind the headlines. If you find value in this conversation, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're about to dive deep into a case that had the streets divided and the courtroom shook. Columbus, Georgia, a city where everybody knows everybody, especially in the music scene. That's where 24-year-old Maurice Jackson, who went by the name Vaughn, was trying to make his mark. Dude wasn't famous yet, but he had that hunger, that drive that every rapper knows about when you're grinding to make it out.
Y'all about like 13. I was about like 13, but I got
No.
Yeah, I got in my sleep.
7th grade?
7th grade, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So then, alright, that's interesting then. So, which one came first then, as far as like, it was the song, or, you know, you get and inspiring the song for you to make the song?
Fuck with me hard, but it was just my folks in the streets and shit, so it was already like, that knew. It was already there.
Maurice was the type of cat who stayed focused on his music, stayed out of drama, but sometimes drama finds you anyway. And in this case, drama came in the form of a childhood friendship that was about to turn deadly. See, Maurice knew Quincy Wade. They wasn't best friends, but they moved in the same circles, knew the same people, and that's where things get complicated, because there's an unwritten rule in the streets, in our community. You don't mess with another man's situation, period. But Quincy had a situation that was already messy. He was dealing with Shanna Powell, a woman who was pregnant with his child, but their relationship, man, that thing was more off than on. Breakups, makeups, arguments, the whole toxic cycle that we've all seen play out. Now here's where the plot thickens. While Quincy and Shanna were doing their on-again, off-again dance, Maurice somehow got caught up in the mix. Whether Shanna was looking for comfort, whether she was trying to get back at Quincy, or whether genuine feelings developed, that's between them and God. But what we know for sure is that lines got crossed. In the black community, we got rules about this type of thing. You don't slide in when your boy's girl is vulnerable. You don't play in another man's backyard. And you damn sure don't get involved with someone who's carrying another man's child. But Maurice found himself in exactly that situation. Now some folks might say Shanna should have stayed single, figured her own situation out before bringing another man into the picture. Others might say Quincy should have just let her go and moved on. But pride, jealousy, and emotions don't always follow logic. And when you mix all that with the streets of Columbus, Georgia, that's a recipe for disaster. Word started getting back to Quincy about what was going on. And anybody who knows anything about the streets knows when a man feels disrespected, especially by someone considered as a friend, things can get really dangerous real quick. The night everything went left, on September 7th, 2021, just after 2:30 in the morning, Quincy Wade shows up at Shanna's apartment complex. But this wasn't no let's talk about our problems type visit. Homeboy came strapped and with a different energy entirely. According to witnesses and court testimony, Quincy didn't knock. He didn't call first. He kicked in the front door like he was the police serving a warrant. That right there should tell you everything you need to know about his mindset that night.
Testimony shows Wade entered the residence his ex-girlfriend, Shayna Powell, was staying in uninvited. Wade then kicked in the bathroom door both Powell and Jackson.
Inside that apartment was Shayna, who was pregnant with Quincy's child. But what Quincy might not have expected, and what would change everything, was that Maurice was there too. When Maurice heard all that commotion, he ran to the bathroom, probably hoping this whole situation would blow over without him having to get involved. But according to Shayna's testimony in court, Quincy wasn't just there to talk. She said he pulled out a gun and pointed it right at her head. Think about that for a second. A grown man pointing a gun at a pregnant woman, his own baby mama. Whether he was serious or just trying to scare her, that crossed every line imaginable. That's when Maurice made a decision that would cost him his life. He stepped out of that bathroom strapped. See, Maurice had a legal concealed carry permit. He wasn't some street dude running around with illegal guns. But when he saw what was happening to Shayna, he felt like he had to do something. What happened next was chaos. Pure chaos. Maurice fired first, hitting Quincy in the leg. But instead of Quincy going down, or backing off, he returned fire. What followed was a straight-up shootout inside that small apartment. Neighbors heard 16 shots total. 16, in a residential building where families were sleeping. When the smoke cleared, Maurice Jackson was down. One of those bullets had found its mark, and it was fatal. Quincy, bleeding from his leg wound, didn't stick around to see if Maurice was gonna make it. He didn't call 911. He didn't wait for help. He managed to drive down to meet his boy Xavier Stevenson, and then they both started heading for a hospital in LaGrange, almost an hour away.
Cleopatra heard state witness Xavier Stevenson say he drove the defendant Quincy Wade to the hospital the night both men exchanged gunfire.
I told him the story that came up with that we was just gonna say like we was coming from Atlanta. I don't remember the exact story, what we exactly said we gonna say, but the main like we were coming from Atlanta and I wanna say he tried to buy some weed to my rock. But like I said, that was my idea.
By the time police arrived at that apartment, they found a scene that looked like a war zone. Blood, shell casings, furniture torn up, and the body of Maurice Jackson, a young man with dreams, with talent, with a whole life ahead of him, gone. The news spread fast through Columbus. Another young black man dead, another life cut short by violence. The rap community was shook. Maurice's family was devastated, and the streets started asking questions. Meanwhile, Quincy and his friend Xavier had checked into a hospital in LaGrange.
They told the doctors that they were there because they had planned to go to Atlanta for some business deal.
But that story didn't hold up under pressure. In court, Xavier admitted the whole thing was a lie. They went to LaGrange to avoid dealing with Columbus police. But the police had already put a be on the lookout call to neighboring communities regarding an injured person that was shot in the leg. So with all the information matching Quincy's situation, it didn't take long before he was reported to the police and arrested shortly after receiving treatment. He was charged with murder. The state's case seemed straightforward. He broke into someone's home with a gun, terrorized a pregnant woman, and when someone tried to stop him, he killed them, open and shut, right? Wrong. See, this is where the story gets complicated, because Quincy's defense team had a different version of events. They argued that Quincy didn't even know Maurice was in that apartment.
That as they're having this conversation in the bathroom,
they said he was just coming to talk to Shayna about their relationship.
Facing towards where Mrs. Powell is, which is kind of in an area behind the bathroom door, across from the bathroom mirror. And they're having this conversation. All right?
And when Maurice came out that bathroom shooting, Quincy had no choice but to defend himself.
Shot twice by Mr. Jackson, who comes out of the shower curtain, unbeknownst to Mr. Wade, doesn't even know he's there, and shoots him twice. All right? And in response to that, Mr. Wade fires rounds to defend himself.
When this case hit the courtroom, the entire community was watching. You had Maurice's family and friends on one side saying he died trying to protect a pregnant woman from an abusive ex. On the other side, you had folks saying Maurice should have minded his own business and stayed out of another man's relationship. The prosecution painted a picture of Quincy as the aggressor. They said the moment he kicked in that door with a gun, any claim of self-defense went out the window. They argued that Maurice was a hero, a man who saw a pregnant woman in danger and stepped up to protect her. But Quincy's defense team came with the heat, and, they really came with it. One of the most talked about moments of the trial was when his lawyer stood up in court and told the jury that Shayna's testimony was, and I quote, all cap.
When Ms. Powell was first interviewed and talked to about this incident, she didn't say nothing about Mr. Wade. Pulled the gun on her, put it to her stomach, put it to her head, say, I'm gonna shoot you and the baby. That's all cap, that's all made up.
Yeah, you heard that right. In a murder trial, in front of a judge and jury, this lawyer said the main witness was capping. It was bold, it was risky, but it worked, because all you need in court is reasonable doubt. The defense argued that Maurice shot first. They said Quincy was legally carrying his weapon, just like Maurice. They painted it as a tragic case of self-defense, two armed men in a tense situation where somebody was gonna die. After days of testimony, tears, and legal arguments, the jury came back with their decision. And y'all, when I tell you this verdict shocked everybody, like it was jaw-dropping.
Quincy Wade was found not guilty on the following charges: not guilty on malice murder, not guilty on felony murder, not also guilty on aggravated assault, and not guilty on home invasion. The only thing they found him guilty of was trespassing.
A young man was dead, and all the killer got was a trespassing charge. The courtroom erupted. Maurice's mother, Cleopatra, held her composure, but you could see the pain in her eyes. Outside the courthouse, she told reporters that her son was unbothered and unbothering.
He was where he was supposed to be, unbothered and unbothering. He had the right to defend himself and whomever he was with at that time.
That he had every right to defend himself and protect whoever he was with that night. Quincy's mother had her own truth. She believed her son was set up, that Shayna knew exactly what she was doing when she got both men involved in her situation.
But I'm gonna tell you, it's one common denominator with this whole thing, and that's Shayna Powell. And I think she should have got some charges.
The internet went crazy. The streets were divided. Some said Maurice broke the code by messing with his boy's baby mama and got caught slipping. Others called him a protector who gave his life trying to shield a woman from violence.
Mr. Jackson Morrissey's father said after seeing the evidence of what happened on the night of the murder, one thing remains the same for him.
It's not about who shot first. It's a case about one thing when my son lost his life protecting himself and who he was with that night. When trouble came knocking on their door, they place to stay where they was, mind their business. That's all the case is about.
So what do we take away from all this? Two young black men's lives destroyed over what? Pride? Jealousy? A woman who couldn't make up her mind about what she wanted? This case highlights something we don't like to talk about in our community: the unwritten rules that govern relationships, respect, and loyalty. Maurice crossed a line when he got involved with Quincy's baby mama. That's just real talk. But did that mean he deserved to die? Hell no. Quincy let his emotions drive him to kick in somebody's door with a gun. Even if you feel disrespected, even if you feel betrayed, that's not how you handle it. And now he's got to live with taking a life, even if the law said it was justified. And Shanna, she's got to live knowing that her choices played a role in putting these two men on a collision course. Whether that's fair or not, that's the reality. At the end of the day, this wasn't just about a love triangle. This was about pride, respect, and the deadly consequences when those things collide. Maurice Jackson was a young man with talent, dreams, and potential. He deserved better than dying on a bathroom floor at 24 years old. Quincy Wade may have walked out of that courtroom a free man, but freedom and peace are two different things. Because even when you beat the system, you still got to live with what happened. And for everybody involved, what happened that night in Columbus, Georgia, is something they'll never forget. This has been Deadly Affairs. Two childhood friends, one woman, 16 bullets, one deadly choice that changed everything. If this story made you think, hit that like button, subscribe for more real stories, and let us know in the comments. Where do you draw the line between loyalty and self-preservation? Until next time, stay safe out there.